Vereen stood alone before the Science Council of the Myriad Collective. Her 4 blue hands shook slightly as she waited for their decision. The 7 council members sat high above her on curved seats that formed a half circle. Their skin colors shifted between shades of green and purple, showing their serious mood. "We have reviewed your proposal on dimensional travel theory," said Chief Scientist Morax. His voice was cold. "The council finds your ideas not only flawed but dangerous." Vereen's skin paled. "But the math supports my theory. If we could just test." "Enough." Morax cut her off with a sharp hand gesture. "Your equations contain basic errors. Your methods ignore standard safety protocols. And your suggestions would waste valuable resources on what is clearly impossible." Another council member spoke up. "Dimensional folding has been tried before. 3 researchers died in the last attempt 50 years ago. But my approach is different," Vereen said. She tried to keep her voice steady. "I found a new way to stabilize the field fat." "Your request is denied," Morax said. "Furthermore, you are banned from using any collective resources for this line of research. This meeting is over." The lights in the chamber dimmed. The council members stood and filed out through a door behind their seats. Not one of them looked at Vereen. She stood frozen in place long after they had gone. Years of work dismissed in minutes. Her career was over. No lab in the collective would hire her now. Later that night, in her small apartment, Vereen packed her few belongings. Her skin had turned a deep blue of sadness. On her data tablet, she reviewed her research one more time. She still believed she was right. The council was too careful, too afraid of anything new. As she scrolled through her notes, a message appeared on her screen. It was from her old teacher, Professor Xelv. "I heard what happened." The message read, "The council is wrong to dismiss you, but they will not change their minds. If you truly believe in your work, look elsewhere. The humans have been making interesting progress in quantum physics. They lack our knowledge, but they are not afraid to try new ideas. Consider this name: Dr. Lily Martinez, Northwestern University, Earth." Vereen had never thought about working with humans. Most of her people saw humans as primitive and reckless. But maybe that was exactly what she needed now. Someone who would take risks. She searched the galactic network for information about this Dr. Martinez. The human woman had published several papers on dimensional theory that, while basic by collective standards, showed real promise. And unlike collective scientists, she seemed willing to challenge accepted ideas. In the morning, Vereen sent a message requesting permission to travel to Earth. To her surprise, it was approved quickly. The collective was probably happy to get rid of her. She booked passage on a transport ship, leaving in 2 days. As her ship later broke orbit, Vereen watched her homeworld shrink to a small dot. Fear and doubt filled her mind. She had never been away from the collective before. Humans were strange creatures, emotional, unpredictable, and so very different. Would they even listen to her? Would they understand her work? But as the ship jumped to faster-than-light speed, Vereen felt something new growing inside her: hope. Sometimes when everyone tells you that you're wrong, you need to find someone who thinks differently. Maybe these humans, with their strange ways and wild ideas, would see what her own people could not. Vereen turned away from the viewing portal and opened her data tablet. She had 3 weeks of travel time to perfect her presentation for Dr. Lily Martinez. This time, she would not fail. Dr. Lily Martinez was working late in her office at Northwestern University when her computer beeped with an unusual message. The sender was not human. Lily's eyes widened as she read the message from someone named Vereen of the Myriad Collective. "Requesting meeting to discuss dimensional travel theory," the message said. "Arriving Earth Station 1 on Friday. Your work on quantum folding shows promise." Lily ran her hands through her short brown hair. The Myriad Collective was known for advanced technology, but they rarely shared their knowledge. Why would one of them want to meet her? 3 days later, Lily waited nervously at the alien arrival area of Earth Station 1. A tall figure with blue skin and 4 arms walked through the gate. Students and staff stopped to stare at the alien visitor, but quickly went back to their business. Earth had been in contact with various alien species for nearly 20 years now. Dr. Martinez, the alien asked, approaching Lily. Yes, you must be Vereen. Lily held out her hand, then quickly pulled it back, unsure if the alien used the same greeting. Vereen's skin rippled with patches of yellow, a sign of nervousness that Lily couldn't read. Thank you for meeting me. I have traveled far to speak with you. They walked across the university campus, drawing curious glances. Fall leaves crunched under their feet as Vereen explained her situation. My people rejected my theory, she said. They called it dangerous and banned me from using any collective resources. That seems harsh, Lily said. What exactly is your theory? Vereen stopped walking and pulled out a small device. It projected a 3D model of equations and diagrams into the air between them. I believe space can be folded in a new way, Vereen explained. Not just bent as in current faster than light travel, but truly folded so that two distant points touch. A ship could step from one point to another without traveling the distance between. Lily studied the floating equations with growing interest. This is ambitious, but there are problems in your math here and here. She pointed to two sections of the projection. You understand it. Vereen's skin turned bright with surprise. Parts of it. I've been working on similar ideas, but from a different angle. Lily gestured toward her office building. Let's continue this discussion inside. I have a colleague who should see this too. An hour later, they were joined by Dr. Alan Carter, a tall man with dark skin and a quick smile. Alan specialized in experimental physics and had built many of the devices used in Lily's research. So let me get this straight, Alan said after Vereen had explained everything again. Your people think this is too dangerous to even test, and you came to humans because we're crazy enough to try it. Vereen's skin darkened with embarrassment. The collective values certainty above all else. They will not risk resources on theories without guaranteed results. Alan laughed. Well, that's not how science works on Earth. We've made our biggest discoveries by taking chances. Lily was still studying Vereen's equations on her computer. There are errors in your approach, but the core idea might be possible. We would need to rework the stabilization field concept completely. You mean you'll help me? Vereen asked, her voice filled with hope. Lily and Alan exchanged glances. It's risky, Lily said. And we'd need funding, lab space, equipment. And we'd be starting from scratch in some areas, Alan added. But yes, Lily continued, a small smile forming on her face. We'll help you. This could change everything if it works. For the first time since leaving her homeworld, Vereen felt her skin brightening with joy. These humans were nothing like her people had described. They didn't dismiss her ideas. They saw the problems but were still willing to try. Thank you, she said simply. I promise you won't regret this decision. None of them knew then just how difficult and dangerous the path ahead would be. Weeks passed as Vereen worked with Lily and Alan in their university lab. The alien scientist was learning that humans had very different ways of working than her people. One afternoon, Vereen watched in confusion as Alan grabbed a basketball from under his desk and headed for the door. Where are you going? She asked. We still have to solve the energy field problem. To the basketball court, Alan replied with a smile. I do my best thinking while shooting hoops. Vereen looked at Lily with all four of her hands raised in confusion. Many humans think better when they're moving, Lily explained. Alan solves most of his problems on the basketball court. In the collective, we sit quietly and focus until a solution is found, Vereen said. And how's that working out for you? Alan asked with a grin. Vereen thought about the rejection she had faced. Point taken. Soon, they were all at the outdoor court. Alan dribbled the ball and took shots while discussing energy field equations. To Vereen's surprise, he came up with a good idea for stabilizing the dimensional portal after just 20 minutes of play. It's strange, Vereen said later as they worked on the new calculations. Your methods seem so random, but they work. Humans have always made progress by trying unusual approaches, Lily said. Some of our greatest discoveries happened by accident. Working together wasn't always easy. Sometimes Varine's skin would change colors rapidly during discussions, confusing her human partners. Your face is turning purple, Alan pointed out during one heated debate. What does that mean? It means I strongly disagree, Varine explained. My species communicates partly through color changes. That must make it hard to keep secrets, Lily said with a laugh. It's why we value emotional control. But humans are different. You show emotions openly through words and actions, not colors. Despite these differences, they made good progress. Lily corrected the mathematical errors in Varine's work. Alan designed small experiments to test each part of their theory. One day, Alan found Varine working alone late at night in the lab. You should rest, he said. Even brilliant alien scientists need sleep. My people need less rest than humans, Varine replied, not looking up from her work. Maybe, but you've been working for 20 hours straight. Varine finally stopped and looked at him. I must succeed. I have nowhere to go if this fails. The collective will not take me back after what they see as my betrayal. Alan sat beside her. You know, Earth has a long history of taking in people who couldn't go back home. Many of our greatest citizens were once refugees or outcasts. Would humans accept me if I stayed? Some would, some wouldn't, but there would be a place for you here. For the first time, Varine considered a future on Earth. It was strange, loud, and chaotic, but also exciting and full of possibilities. The next morning, they had a breakthrough. The small test device they had built successfully created a tiny dimensional fold between 2 points in the lab. It lasted only 2 seconds, but it was proof their theory worked. We did it, Lily shouted, hugging both Alan and Varine. The alien scientist stood stiffly at first, not used to physical contact, but then awkwardly returned the hug with 2 of her 4 arms. Their celebration was cut short when the lab door opened. A tall blue figure similar to Varine, but with darker skin, entered the room. Hello, Varine, the newcomer said coldly. The collective sends its regards. Varine's skin turned pale with fear. Zareth, how did you find me? Did you really think the collective would allow you to share forbidden knowledge with humans? Zareth's eyes moved to the test device on the table. I see we came just in time. Zareth, please, Varine said, stepping forward. This research could help everyone, including the collective. Zareth's eyes narrowed. You were forbidden from pursuing this work. Now you share it with humans. His tone made the word humans sound like an insult. Lily moved protectively closer to Varine. Who exactly are you? I am Zareth, Science Security Officer of the Myriad Collective, he replied without looking at her. I am here to stop this dangerous research and take Varine back to face judgment. Alan crossed his arms. This is Earth. You have no authority here. The collective has agreements with your governments, Zareth said coldly, especially regarding dangerous technologies that lesser species shouldn't have. Lesser species. Lily's voice rose with anger. We just helped solve the problems in Varine's theory that your people couldn't figure out. Zareth finally turned to look at the humans. Correction. You helped create something you don't understand. Do you know what could happen if a dimensional fold collapses? It could create a tear in space that would keep growing until it swallowed your entire solar system. That's why we're being careful, Varine argued. We've solved the stability problem. The collective was wrong. I'll be the judge of that. Zareth moved toward their equipment. Alan stepped in his way. You can't just walk in here and take our work. Something in Zareth's hand flashed. Alan fell backward, clutching his chest in pain. Lily ran to help him. I have no wish to harm humans, Zareth said, but I will complete my mission. He quickly connected a small device to their computer system. Data began transferring to it. He's stealing our research, Lily said, still holding Alan, who was breathing heavily now. Vereen tried to stop Zareth, but he was stronger. He pushed her away with one hand while the other continued the data transfer. The collective will decide what to do with this knowledge, Zareth said. Not renegades and certainly not humans. When the transfer was complete, Zareth pulled another device from his pocket. This will destroy all copies of your work here. Step back if you value your safety. No. Vereen lunged for him, but Zareth was already moving toward the exit. He threw the device into the center of the lab. It began to glow brightly. You have 30 seconds, Zareth said from the doorway. Enough time to escape, not enough to save your work. Then he was gone. We need to get out, Lily shouted, helping Alan to his feet. The data, Alan gasped. All our work. Your lives matter more, Vereen said, helping Lily support Alan as they hurried from the lab. They barely made it to the hallway when an explosion shook the building. Not large enough to destroy the entire lab, but precisely aimed to ruin their equipment and research. Later, in the campus medical center, Lily and Vereen sat beside Alan's bed. The doctors said he would recover, but he had burns on his chest from Zareth's weapon. I'm so sorry, Vereen said, her skin a dark blue of sadness. This is all my fault. I brought this danger to you. You couldn't have known, Lily said. I should have. The collective doesn't give up control easily. Vereen stood up. I should leave Earth before more harm comes to you. Running won't solve anything, Alan said weakly from the bed. Besides, he didn't get everything. Both women looked at him in surprise. Alan smiled despite his pain. I've been backing up our most important data to my personal cloud storage every night. It's something they taught me in grad school after I lost a whole thesis to a computer crash. You have copies. Vereen's skin brightened. Not everything, but enough to rebuild. Ellen tried to sit up but winced in pain. The question is, what do we do now? Zareth will report back to the collective, and they'll know we can continue our work. Lily looked thoughtful. Then we need more help and a safer place to work. She pulled out her phone. I have some calls to make. Vereen watched as hope returned to their situation. These humans continued to surprise her. Where her people saw only problems and dangers, humans found ways forward. They didn't give up, even when facing powerful enemies. Maybe that was why she had been drawn to ask a human for help in the first place. 3 days after the lab explosion, Vereen found herself on a small private plane flying west. Lily sat beside her, working on a laptop, while Alan rested across from them, his chest still bandaged but improving. I still don't understand, Vereen said. How did you arrange all this so quickly? Lily smiled. The explosion made the news. Alien technology research sabotage was too interesting for the media to ignore. By that evening, I had calls from 3 different research groups offering help. In the collective, such failure would end a project. Vereen said, no one would want to be associated with it. On Earth, many big discoveries happened after failures, Alan said. Plus, everyone loves an underdog story. Underdog? Vereen asked, confused. Someone who fights against the odds, Lily explained. Humans tend to root for them. The plane began its descent. Below them, mountains surrounded a large facility nestled in a valley. Welcome to the Earth Science Consortium's Colorado Research Center, Lily said. One of the most advanced private research facilities on the planet. The next day, Vereen stood amazed as she met the team assembled to help them. 15 scientists from different countries, all experts in various fields needed for their project. Dr. Sam Wong, quantum mechanics, a short woman with glasses, introduced herself. Dr. Joe Kelly, energy systems, said a tall man with red hair. One by one, they greeted Vereen with excitement rather than suspicion. None seemed bothered by her blue skin or 4 arms. These people left their jobs to come here, Vereen asked Lily later. Some took leaves of absence. Others were already working for the consortium. The point is, what the Myriad Collective sees as dangerous recklessness, humans see as an exciting challenge. Within a week, they had rebuilt their equipment, but better. Alan's backup data proved invaluable, and the new team brought fresh ideas. The collective approach is to plan everything perfectly before taking one step. Vereen observed as she watched the humans work. You build quickly, test, fail, adjust, and test again. We call it rapid prototyping, Alan said. He was back on his feet now, directing the construction of their new test chamber. Sometimes you learn more from a quick failure than months of planning. One evening, Vereen found Lily looking at old photographs in the break room. Who is that? Vereen asked, pointing to a picture of an older man next to a young Lily. My grandfather, Lily said softly. He was a refugee who came to America with nothing. Everyone told him he would fail, but he built a new life. He's the one who taught me that the most important discoveries often come from people who were told their ideas were impossible. Vereen's skin rippled with emotion. That is why I came to humans. My people have advanced technology, but we've become too careful, too afraid of the unknown. 2 weeks into their work at the new facility, they were ready for a major test. Their new dimensional folding device was much larger than the university prototype. Everyone gathered in the control room as Alan started the power sequence. Beginning field generation, he announced. Power at 20%, 40%, 60%. Monitors showed energy building in the test chamber. A small dot of light appeared, then grew into a swirling portal about 1 meter across. Portal is stable, Sam Wong reported. Field integrity holding at 98%. Lily squeezed Vereen's upper right hand. It's working. They sent a probe through the portal. It emerged 10 meters away in another part of the chamber, exactly as planned. Applause broke out among the team. Some hugged each other. Vereen felt her skin glowing bright with joy and pride. Their celebration was interrupted by an alarm from the communication system. Dr. Martinez, the security officer, called. We're receiving reports of strange energy fluctuations near Denver. The pattern matches dimensional distortion. Lily and Vereen looked at each other in concern. Zareth, Vereen said, the collective isn't just studying our research, they're trying to use it. Without understanding it fully, Lily added grimly, which means they could cause exactly the disaster they feared. Satellite images showed an abandoned mining facility outside Denver where the energy spikes were coming from. Government officials quickly set up a 10-mile safety zone around the area as Lily, Alan, and Vereen joined a special response team. Our sensors detect dimensional energy similar to our own tests, but the pattern is unstable, Sam Wong reported from their mobile command center. Through binoculars, they could see guards around the facility. They weren't collective members, but humans in private security uniforms. Looks like Zareth found human partners, Alan said grimly. Probably promised them advanced technology in exchange for help. He doesn't understand what he's doing, Vereen said, her skin turning a worried gray. Without proper stabilization, a dimensional fold can create tears in space-time. If a tear grows large enough, we know, Lily interrupted. That's why we're here to stop it. The response team leader, Captain Garcia, joined them. We've detected 5 energy spikes in the last hour, each stronger than the last. Whatever they're doing in there, they're getting ready for something big. We need to get inside, Alan said, and shut down their equipment before they cause a disaster. My team can handle the guards, Garcia said, but we'll need you 3 to deal with the technical aspects. An hour later, the plan was in motion. As Garcia's team created a distraction at the main gate, Lily, Alan, and Vereen approached from the rear of the facility. Using a device Vereen had created, they cut through the fence without triggering alarms. Inside, they moved carefully through dim corridors. The building shook slightly with each new energy pulse. The power readings are coming from below, Lily whispered, checking her scanner. Probably an underground level. They found stairs leading down and descended into a large chamber filled with hastily assembled equipment. In the center stood a device similar to their own but larger and clearly built without proper understanding of the technology. Only 2 technicians were present, both too focused on their work to notice the intruders. Vereen recognized one immediately. "Zareth," she said, stepping forward. The collective officer turned in surprise. "Vereen, you're too late to stop us. What have you done?" Vereen asked, looking at the machine with horror. Its power core was pulsing erratically. "Improved your design," Zareth said proudly. "The human military corporation I partnered with has provided resources the collective would never approve. We're about to test a full-scale portal. You didn't improve anything," Alan said, studying the readouts on a nearby screen. "Your power matrix is unstable. You're going to create a tier, not a controlled portal." Zareth's skin darkened with anger. "Human lies. Our calculations are perfect." Just then, the machine began to hum louder. In the center of the chamber, a small dark spot appeared in the air. Unlike the clean portal in their own tests, this one had jagged edges that seemed to eat into the space around it. "It's already starting to collapse," Lily shouted over the rising noise. "We need to shut it down now." One of the human technicians tried to reach the control panel, but the unstable energy field knocked him back. The dark spot grew larger, pulling loose objects toward it. "We can't shut it down conventionally now," Vereen said. "The field is self-sustaining." "Then what do we do?" Alan asked, bracing himself against a wall as the pull from the growing tear strengthened. Vereen looked at the machine, then at her friends. "I need to create a counter-resonance. It might stabilize the tear long enough to close it." "That's too dangerous," Lily argued. "You'd have to get too close to the tear." "I understand this technology better than anyone," Vereen replied. Her skin had turned a calm, steady blue. "It's our only chance." Before they could stop her, Vereen moved toward the machine. The pull from the tear made each step difficult. Behind her, Zareth tried to flee, but Garcia's team had arrived and blocked the exit. Vereen reached the control panel and began making adjustments, her forehands moving with precise coordination. The tear pulsed and grew, now nearly 3 meters across. Equipment around the room broke free and vanished into its dark center. "Everyone get back," Vereen shouted. "I'm going to redirect the power flow." The machine's hum changed pitch as Vereen completed her adjustments. The tear stopped growing, its edges becoming more defined rather than jagged. Then everything happened at once, a flash of light, a wave of energy, and darkness. When Lily opened her eyes, she was surprised to find herself alive. The underground chamber was damaged but intact. Emergency lights cast a red glow over the scene. Where the tear had been, there was now just empty space. "Alan," she called, getting to her feet. "Over here." Alan waved from across the room where he was helping Garcia's team secure Zareth and the human technicians. "And Vereen?" Lily asked with worry. Alan pointed to the center of the room. There, beside the now silent machine, Vereen lay on the floor. Her blue skin was pale, almost gray. Lily rushed to her side. "Vereen, can you hear me?" Slowly, Vereen's eyes opened. Color gradually returned to her skin. "It worked," she whispered. "I redirected the energy back into itself. The tear collapsed." "You saved everyone," Lily said, helping her friend to sit up. "Not just here," Alan added, joining them. "According to these readings, that tear could have expanded to threaten the entire region if you hadn't stopped it." 3 days later, Vereen sat in a meeting room at the Earth Science Consortium facility. Across from her were 3 representatives from the Myriad Collective who had arrived by special transport after hearing about the incident. "Your actions were unexpected," said the lead representative, an elder named Krex. "The reports we received from Zareth suggested you were pursuing dangerous research with unqualified partners." "Zareth didn't understand what we were doing," Vereen replied calmly, "and he nearly caused exactly the disaster he claimed to be preventing." The door opened, and Lily and Alan entered, along with Dr. Sam Wong and 2 government officials. "These are my colleagues," Vereen said proudly. "Thanks to them, we've developed safe dimensional folding technology." Krex looked at the humans with surprise. "We've reviewed the data from both incidents. Your solution to the dimensional stability problem was innovative." "It was mostly Vereen's work," Lily said. "We just helped her refine it." "The collective made a mistake in rejecting her research," another representative admitted. "We would like to offer you reinstatement, Vereen. Your work could greatly benefit our people." Vereen looked at her human friends, then back at the representatives. "Thank you, but I must decline." "You refuse to return to the collective?" Krex asked in surprise. "I found a new home here," Vereen said. "The Earth Science Consortium has offered to establish an interdimensional research division, with me as Chief Theoretical Officer. And I'll be Director," Lily added. "I'm heading practical applications," Alan said. "We're planning to use the technology for deep space exploration, not weapons." The collective representatives looked at each other in confusion. This outcome was clearly not what they had expected. "Very well," Krex said finally. "The collective respects your decision. We would, however, like to propose a formal collaboration between our scientists and your new division." "That would be welcome," Vereen agreed. "There is much we can learn from each other." 6 months later, Vereen stood beside Lily and Alan on a viewing platform as they watched the final preparations for the launch of the first ship, equipped with dimensional drive technology. The sleek vessel gleamed in the morning sun. "Did you ever imagine this when you first came to Earth?" Alan asked. "Never," Vereen admitted. "In the collective, I was an outcast with a dangerous idea. Here, I found people willing to listen, to help, to take risks." "That's humanity for you," Lily said with a smile. "We're curious, sometimes to a fault." "What did you name the ship?" Vereen asked as the launch countdown began. Alan grinned. "Defiance." It seemed appropriate. As the ship lifted off, Vereen felt a strange mix of emotions. Her skin shifted through colors of joy, pride, and something new, belonging. Sometimes, she thought, when everyone rejects you, you need to find someone who thinks differently. She had sought out humans in desperation, but had found so much more, not just scientific partners, but true friends who saw value in her ideas when her own people could not. The ship rose higher, then suddenly vanished as it activated its dimensional drive, jumping instantly to a point near Jupiter for its first test. On the monitors, they saw it reappear exactly where planned. Cheers erupted from the control room. Humanity had taken its first step into a new era of space travel, all because an alien outcast had asked a human for help.